Okay, so I got my X-Men Villains 5-pack. This is in celebration of the X-Men 60 years, as you can see there. The artwork on this thing is beautiful. We see Vertigo, Pretty Boy, STRYFE right there, front and center, Random, and then Zero with his portal in the background. Decent set. I know people really only want this for either STRYFE or Pretty Boy, maybe Random. But the other ones probably not as much. But anyway, we'll kind of get into it. So the side of the box, you actually see the digital render close-ups of the portraits there. The side, we actually get the artwork from it's actually from the cover. And then on the back of the box, we actually see the figures in the digital render forms with all of their accessories. You can see Random is the only one that doesn't come with any accessories. So pretty decent box set. I'm actually going to review each of these figures one by one. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at all of the figures out of the box, and then we'll do 5 separate shorter videos for each figure. Okay, and here are the 5 villains out of the package. And these are pretty good. STRYFE is definitely going to be the highlight of the pack, the one that people want the most. Pretty Boy, I think, is a really close second because it's just crazy what the Hasbro team has done with this. This isn't what we typically get with Marvel Legends figures, right? It's always Bucky Cap or Spider-Man 2099, all these reused body parts. But this thing is completely, well, it's not completely new, actually, because Silvermane had the same arms. But those arms were new for Silvermane, which were probably first designed for Pretty Boy and then reused for anyway. These figures are pretty cool. So Random is cool. The deco for his tattoos are really nice. Zero is okay. Not a whole lot going on there. The portal effect is always pretty cool with a little bit of added paint on there. And then Vertigo, not bad. She looks really good, but again, it is still a very basic figure with old body parts for a female figure. It's a complete repaint. The head was reused and everything. I think it was one of the Sue Storm Invisible Woman's. I think it was the one from the Super Scroll Build-A-Figure wave. I have to double check that though. But a pretty cool 5-pack. But again, we're going to take a look at each figure individually to do 5 shorter videos instead of one really long video. So we'll take a look at Pretty Boy first, then STRYFE, then we will go into Random, then Zero, and then ending out with Vertigo. Okay, so I know I had talked about doing individual videos, but it ended up not making sense. Like, nobody's going to watch the Zero video on his own. Maybe somebody will watch Random and Vertigo, but I'll probably put those together. But it makes sense that STRYFE and Zero would go together, of course. So I'll be reviewing these 2 figures together. STRYFE, I will do a comparison with the previous released STRYFE from the X-Men Jubilee Build-A-Figure wave that was exclusive to Toys R Us. There are some same parts, there are some new parts. I'll take a closer look to see kind of what's new beyond the head sculpt and things. And then we'll take a look at Zero and go from there. The accessories that they come with is very limited, so STRYFE only comes with 2 fists, and Zero comes with these 2 straight hands, like so, and that's all they come with. People are pretty upset that STRYFE doesn't come with his sword, but I guess if you had the previous one, you have the sword. It was kind of very flimsy, not a whole lot going on to it, didn't even have any paint, but if you had that one. This one definitely is a better figure, and it definitely is the highlight of the 5-pack. For sure. So let's go ahead and knock Zero out of the way, and then we'll take a look at STRYFE. Okay, so just to get the portal out of the way, this is the same from the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness Defender Strange pack. We do get some black paint here, and that's all we get. It's just done all in the yellow translucent plastic. I think the Doctor Strange one that we had gotten, there was some, it was orange, and I think there was some paint in there. But again, this is a reuse. It has nice weight to it, and it is a good size. It stands up on its own, so it's nice that it's included. But Zero here is not a whole lot going on to him. This is the Spider-Man UK body mold, so it doesn't have butterfly joints or anything like that. This is one that I've actually really learned to appreciate the release of it. It's not overused. It's used every so often. But in my opinion, it is actually a really good one. The thing that it really lacks is the whole butterfly joint thing. But it's definitely a solid figure. I think when the Spider-Man UK figure had come out, I didn't care much for it because the head sculpt on there was kind of wide, the Spider-Man head, and then the mold got used sparingly, but so I learned to appreciate it with like the Black Panther figures that use this body mold. They were done really nice, so I really like it, and it's a shame it isn't used more often, but it's old, it has pins. Let's move on from it. But anyway, let's get in for a closer look. at 0. Actually, you know what? We're going to go right into the articulation. There's no closer look needed. He's all white. We get one black circle there on his chest, one black circle on his head. His head, there are no like body features, except there's kind of some cheekbones in there, but really not a whole lot. He can look up all that way. He can look down all the way. Full rotation in that head. You do get some pivot going on in there. The shoulder you can get to go up and out like so. You get a full rotation in there. Upper bicep swivel. You get a double jointed pinned elbow like so. Wrists swivel and they do hinge. Standard horizontal hinge on the fists and the other hands. He can crunch forward that far. He can crunch back that far. You have the waist swivel in there. Legs go out only that far. Oh, that's why. That's not very good that the legs only go out that far apart. That kind of sucks. He can kick forward very high though, so not too bad. The legs don't really go back. You have an upper thigh cut in there. You get a double jointed knee that does have pins on there. You have a calf swivel right in the middle of the calf, which is a really ugly cut for it. That is part of a problem. When there's boots though, it works. Foot hinges all the way down. You get a little bit of hinge up, ankle pivot pegals at the bottom of the feet. And that is 0. Not a whole lot going on for him, but it's cool that he comes with STRYFE, so it made sense to review him together. Let's get back to STRYFE because this guy is beefy and I have to reposition the camera just for him. Okay, so here is the STRYFE figure. A few things to note as far as what is new. The head sculpt is new. The heads are way different. It's pretty crazy how different they are. We do get new arms. So here we have STRYFE. He is pinless. So pinless elbows and pinless knees. The interesting thing is that the legs actually seem almost identical. So they essentially just kind of recreated the legs so they would be pinless. Like they're like, I mean, they could have gotten away with it. I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they didn't. They probably could have done it and it would have been fine. Now, aesthetically, it wouldn't have looked great, but it would have passed. So they actually updated it, made it pinless. And that goes a long way. The torso is the same. The cape is the same. This waist piece here is the same. Yeah, the shoulders are different and the hands are different. So really, it's just the torso that's the same, I guess. Maybe these hip joints. The feet are the same as well. So not a lot there, but they did make a lot of updates and improvements to it. So that is really nice. Welcome addition for sure. So for the most part, he's all silver, as you can see. We do get some blue portions here in his abdomen as well as his upper legs. Not the whole thing, because you could see part of the side there is kind of goes back into that silver. And really, that's it. There's not a whole lot of other coloring to it. These shoulder pads are part of the torso. These are much softer than the previous release as well. The other one, they were actually quite hard. Like you can't. Yeah, and those are really spiky and stuff. You don't want to grab them at all. The head sculpts are way different. Yeah, so again, this update to STRYFE is really nice. Like, it is an awesome figure. It sucks that now you have to get a 5-pack to be able to get him, and I think that STRYFE figure is kind of a lot on the secondary market because that whole entire wave was really tricky to get. Like, it was such a pain in the ass to make a whole entire wave exclusive to one store. So it's kind of nuts. But yeah, STRYFE looking really damn good. So let's go ahead and zoom out for his articulation. Surprisingly, with STRYFE, with this big ass cape being heavy, it doesn't really weight him back too much when, trying to position him. But one thing is these legs kind of seem to spread out a little too easily, so just be aware of that. This head sculpt moves around nice and easy, as you can see swivel wise. Looking down, not really a whole lot. It has that hinge in there, so you can kind of work it. Looking up isn't too much of a problem. You can actually look up a fair amount, but these pieces of his helmet here definitely hit his cape, and then swivel on in there. The shoulder you can get to essentially just go straight out. You can't really do a full rotation because of these shoulder pads. They're really just going to get in the way, but you can get the arm to go out, as much as you're really going to need. He does have a double jointed elbow, which is pinless, so you get that much bend there. Only about 90 degrees because of how large his biceps and his forearms are, but there is the pinless double jointed elbow. Wrist swivel, and they do hinge. That goes for the open hands, and the fists have the standard horizontal hinge on them. STRYFE has an ab crunch, so he can crunch forward that much. That is pretty good. The cape is really going to be a problem when it comes to crunching back, whereas he could do it a lot. That cape doesn't really help the situation anyway, unfortunately. You have a waist swivel in there. Legs go out that far apart. He can kick forward that far, not too shabby. The leg goes back, not really. He does have an upper thigh cut in there. You get a solid double jointed knee that is pinless there, so that looks really good. And then there is no boot swivel or calf swivel or anything on this guy, so you have a hinge down that much. Stiff ankles. Hinge up is ever so slightly, if at all. Ankle pivot, peg holes at the bottom of the feet. Now, because he is a silver in color, one thing that Hasbro likes to do is to not paint silver, but to use like a metallic plastic. And usually what happens is when they do that is we see a lot of the marbleization, which are the fill lines as they inject the plastic into the mold. So just a heads up, there is going to be a lot of that likely on your figure, as there is a lot of it on mine. So just a heads up on that. And now I'm having trouble getting him to stand. It's these ankles are very, 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 very stiff. So careful. There we go. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and see this full side-by-sides with STRYFE and Cable. Okay, so here we have the new STRYFE here in the center. The old one, you can see the head sculpt just not as good. One thing, and I'll take a closer look at this with the new helmet, is the Hasbro does a much better job now when it has like a helmeted or masked look, to where it's layered as opposed to one solid piece like this one was, to where it has layered pieces. So there's glued on pieces, so you could kind of see a clear separation between the helmet and a head sculpt in there, or part of a head sculpt, but a person's, you know, face that's in there. So that's actually really cool. But size wise, you can see they're all fairly bulky. This new STRYFE is much taller, so I guess the legs are going to be a little bit longer, and then the head sculpt, you know, those horns, blades or whatever, being much longer on the new one makes a big difference. Okay, so as I was saying with the helmet, you could see it has a layered look to it, so it almost looks like, you know, there's a regular head sculpt in there and then a helmet that's actually over it. It definitely gives it a much better aesthetic, so when we can have like a real layered look. And you could see all those blades in the helmet, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, huge improvement over the previous one. Okay, so one challenge when it comes to the sword is this hand and this hand are not the same. Color-wise, they're pretty close, so it's probably not too much of an issue, but I'm having a hard time getting this hand out of there, and I don't want to yank it to potentially break that peg. This figure is pretty old. It's probably close to 10 years old now. I think that exclusive wave was 2014, right? So we're at the start of 2023, so we're talking probably like 8 years old. 8 to 9 years old now, so I don't want to try and force that hand out of there. So you would not actually have a hand to be able to hold the sword, unfortunately. So that is likely not going to work. Why Hasbro didn't include a sword this go round, I do not know, but I definitely know there were some complaints when this Villains 5-pack was announced. So unfortunately, he doesn't have the sword, and then he can't actually hold the sword. Okay, so you guys let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of this new STRYFE figure? What do you think of the Zero figure? It's actually cool. I mean, what else could they have really done? Probably not a whole lot, so it's nice. It's a new head sculpt. The body, of course, is all reused. But STRYFE is pretty awesome, and again, I think this is going to be the highlight, along with Pretty Boy, because damn, Pretty Boy is such an awesome figure. So, you know, those are the two that people are definitely going to be wanting to get the set for. But I'm sure someone will part it out. You know, with Dorkside being gone, they would have probably sold each figure individually. But, you know, they're gone, so I don't know that there's any other e-tailers out there that actually do that. I don't know, but you may have to go to eBay. But solid figure. These two figures are pretty awesome for the box set. Are they worth the price of the box set if you just want those two? Probably not, because it's super expensive. What was it, $126 or something crazy? But I'm happy with these three figures. You guys let me know down in the comments below your thoughts. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hit the join button to become a channel member and be a part of the MCU Collective. And as always, thank you for watching.